All right. Looks like live streaming has gone live. We're now on webinar and on YouTube. So I don't know where you're coming from today, but we're happy you're joining us. All right. Well, the 1 minute grace period is over. Good evening, Uwe. Good evening, everyone
Good evening.
Who's joining us online today. Good evening, actually, to anybody who's in our time zone. And I'm guessing a few people are out of our time zone. So those are probably night and morning, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Alon Rozen. I'm Dean and Professor of Innovation at École des Ponts Business School, which is the host of today's webinar. And I'm very privileged and lucky to have with me on today's webinar, Uwe Bauer. Uwe recently completed his Executive DBA with us at the school, and his research is on something quite surprising, something called Artsbased initiatives. And I actually was on his doctoral jury, and I was so interested with what he had to say that I said, hey, we should do a webinar on this, Uwe. And I was lucky enough that he agreed. So Uwe, I'd like to start like in the middle, instead of from the end or the beginning.
Right.
And I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself correctly afterwards. But there was one term in your research that really floored me, and that was this notion of the BA. And it was really a seductive concept. I found it to be so relevant to everything that's going on today, the challenges of remote work. Would you mind just starting from the explain to us what that is, how you understand it, why it's such an interesting idea to think about?
Yes, with pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Alan, and hello to everybody. It's nice that now 27 people have already joined, so it's really amazing. Great. So yes, indeed, the concept of it's very fascinating, and it has indeed another dimension in today's remote work. Let me share with you the theoretical foundation of this concept. So it's a Japanese expression which can be translated directly with space, but space is it's not enough in the translation. So the researcher Nonaka and his fellows, they proposed a framework to understand how organizations actually create and manage knowledge. Their groundbreaking, the so-called unified model of dynamic knowledge creation, consists of three elements. One is the so-called Seki process, which is showing the process of knowledge creation through the conversion between tacit and explicit knowledge. And secondly, the concept of Ba. This means that the knowledge needs a context or a place of shared space to be created. And third, the knowledge asset. So the whole concept, it starts actually from the distinction between explicit knowledge and the tacit knowledge. Explicit knowledge, it's the knowledge of the rationality of our mind. And this is the knowledge we usually had learned in school and which is very much valued in Western society. Whereas the tacit knowledge, this is the knowledge which is highly personal and which is very hard to formalize. It covers the whole human side of knowledge in all its subjectivity. So we can say the tacit knowledge can be characterized as the intuition, the know feel. I think I like this expression. It's the know feel. You just have this gut feeling and you know what is coming. So actually this distinction, it's based on a concept from a guy called Polanyi. It's already invented in 1966. And the essence of his book and can be summarized in the phrase, we all know more than we can tell. I think it's fascinating to see that and to feel that. So the tacit knowledge is deeply rooted and embedded in our actions, in our values, in our practices, and in our emotions.
So let me a couple of things. Quick reaction, like know how, know who, know feel. I love that part. It's that really connects to emotions. And in terms of the ba, it's like the tacit. For me, it was almost like the culture is the dog, and there's a subculture that is the tail that wags the dog. And somehow the ba is this kind of, I don't know, tacit culture that emerges around the water cooler, around the coffee machine. Like, what is this notion of ba? Like, is that do I have that right, or is there more to it?
No, you're right. It's a quite often in science, it's that knowledge has an absolute and context-free dimension, whereas this concept of ba, and within this model, we assume no, there needs to be a ba, and knowledge can only be created in a kind of context. And the ba is actually offering this context. Maybe to put it more more plastic out, is like, if there is no ba, there can be all the knowledge, but it cannot be shared, because there is no common room. It's like people are talking then in different language. Everyone has the knowledge, but it cannot come together.
So let me ask you a quick question. Like, if today with remote work, where people aren't having lunch together, they aren't meeting at the coffee machine, they're not meeting at the water, there's no kind of random meetings where the ba can develop, and kind of the shared language and coming together of different forms of knowledge. What happens to ba in remote work? Is that something that we have to give up on, or is there a way for us to do something, generate ba kind of artificially?
Right. I think if we lose it, we will lose a lot. We somehow have to develop that space and that ba. And I will come back a little bit later on this. The ba can be developed, let's say, also remote and in an online world. Might be a little bit more difficult. But my suggestion would be, it can be done. Arts-based initiatives can be done online to create that ba. But for sure, I would say the quality time we have when we are, let's say, working remote and working with the colleagues, this time we should really use in bringing in more actions to create more ba. Let's say, not to waste the face-to-face time by writing emails to your colleague who is sitting then in the next office, but really to do something together, especially some arts-based initiatives which can create this ba, because the emails or the text messages we can write remote.
Yeah. All right, so let me back up a little bit. I haven't asked you to introduce yourself, and your background. Like, you're a corporate animal in terms of background, and it was very surprising to me that you've made this transition professionally, and with your focus on arts-based initiative. Can you give us a little bit about your background and how the heck you got into arts-based initiatives as your new gig?
Yeah, thanks.
By the way, I love your background. It's so artsy. It's perfect.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, that's one of my paintings. I'm actually doing it. It symbolizes an industrial building filled with lucky cats. Maybe you can see the silhouette. So I'm fascinated by old industrial buildings. So I'll put this in a painting.
Excellent.
But yeah, from my background, I started in a very classical way by doing an apprenticeship when I was younger. And then I worked for several years in purchasing, production planning, and finally in corporate sales in the watch and clock industry in Germany, in Hong Kong, and in the US. And in parallel, I enrolled in a distance university and made an MBA in organization and planning, and then a second MBA in economics. And then I moved into the solar photovoltaic sector and built up a sales subsidiary office in Hong Kong before I relocated to Singapore, and there opening my own sales and consultancy company. But then one day something unusual happened. So I just woke up and I had the urgent need to create something different. So I needed to start painting, and it felt like that was the missing part in my life. So that impulse was that strong that I really followed this path, and I'm still doing painting almost every day. Out of this process, I developed the creativity project, where I invite people to create their own artworks. It's also based on the motifs I'll do in my paintings, the Maneki Neko or the Lucky Cats. So conducting creativity and team events, I experienced how art and art projects has a special effect on people, how it actually creates that bar, how people are affected, and everybody can be creative. So sometimes in these events, really the roles are flipped. So the student becomes the master, and the CEO becomes the absolute beginner. And that is so fascinating to see. And as I have seen these phenomena, I really wanted to go in deeper, and there the cycle comes. So I started the research within the DBA program, which allowed me, and I was very lucky that I could do that, really to combine my both passions, bringing in art and creativity and bringing in the business.
So I'm curious that you decided to do this. I think you then moved back to Berlin. How did you end up choosing a school in Paris for your doctoral work and research? Why did you choose us? What happened?
Right. Let's say for me that there are three sectors or three aspects which came together. I think first is the let's say the internationality of the program, which was amazing and which I liked very much. For example, in the cohort, I was in the 2018 cohort. We had been 24 students out of 18 nations, and that really triggered a lot of discussions and cultural exchange, which is unthinkable. Let's say doing that in a German school in Germany for me as a German. Second, definitely the reputation and how of the school and how the program is set up. And the third aspect, I got a recommendation from a good friend of mine. She is enrolled in an earlier cohort. Okay. So these three things came together, and I have to say, Paris is as well a nice place to go, right?
Well, all right. So if I understand correctly, you have this aha moment or Abba moment, but you have this aha moment when you start painting. You bring it into companies. You see the magic that art in companies has.
Yes.
You develop this notion of arts-based initiatives, even going so far as recommending to companies to do artists in residence or other kinds of approaches. Well, maybe you can explain to everyone, what are arts-based initiatives and why is it so rich for corporates? Like you talked about the CEO becoming a beginner. Why is that rich? How does that help unlock creativity, or what else? Like you said, it creates it creates a shared culture or language. Right. Tell us a little bit of how that actually happens. How does the magic work?
Right. So arts-based initiatives, there are many let's say different terms you can find when you go into the literature. Some people call it arts inventions, others call it arts-based learning, arts-based management in managerial development, or artist invention. And it means bringing in people, processes, and products from the world of arts into an organization. to trigger and support a learning process. I had adopted the term of arts-based initiative, which can be the official, let's say, definition is to enable people to undergo an aesthetic experience with any kind of management initiative, as well as to embed the arts as a business unit. Arts-based initiatives, they can vary considerably in their form, time span, and content. But let me give you some examples.
Yeah,
as you said, for one is bringing in an artist into an organization. This is the so-called artist in residence program. That's a little bit more known. So artists are invited to work and perform within a business organization. So they either will have a common project with some people in the organization, or they work on their own project. So an exchange between the artists and the people in the organization is envisioned, and both shall learn from this experience. So in general, the artist way of approaching problems and the way in business is done is it's quite different. And ideally, this clash of culture, which goes there with the energy which comes up, is then fruitful for both parties. So another example is I had seen a lot of companies. They are doing and conducting improvisation theater, for example, within one department or the members of a department. So stepping into the theater role, it's not an easy task.
No, improvisation is very difficult, especially because you always have to say yes and people have a tough time saying yes to ideas.
You have exactly got the point, Alan. This is the main thing, that people must go as well out of their comfort zone. And the keywords are really team building, but also understanding, because improvisation theater only works if you build on the message of your co-players. And I had one nice experience when somebody shared with me their experience. They have done an improvisation theater within the production department, and they had done like a role game. It was they had been all together in the sauna and doing silly games, and they can all remember, when they are stuck with a problem later on, they said, when we had been together in the sauna, we also found a solution. So that was fascinating how to see. A third example would be any kind of art or art workshops in organizations. So it may be creating an artwork together, let's say common painting, exploring, discussing artworks, doing music, playing theater together. The main point in these initiatives is that the participants must actively be involved. So what doesn't count is that the CEO says, "Oh, I got some money. I will buy myself a nice artwork, put it in the lobby or put it in my office," and that's not the arts-based initiative, let's say in a more stricter sense. But
and let me ask you about that in terms of companies. Like you said, you mentioned the CEO who has some, like, is this, from your experience, something that companies that are a little bit bigger and a little bit wealthier, they can play with these kind of initiatives? Or is this also something more grassroots, smaller, mid-sized businesses that are looking to impact their culture, and they see this as a shortcut to creating the BA that we talked about? Like, what kind of companies are more open to this kind of initiative?
I could not make or I could not find any characteristics in that sense that they say, okay, it's big companies, it's wealthy companies, or out of one industry. There is only one characteristic I found, and that was that these companies are really having a social component. They want to do something more than the usual benefits for their employees. So it's the human component was really there. I interviewed 12 different companies, and let's say from small boutique-sized consultancy companies up to mid and big size enterprise in traditional industries with a few thousand employees. But there, let's say the orientation towards the more the human factor, that was the one characteristic. And I think these companies, they recognized the value of these initiatives, that they could do something for the people. One interviewee described it with an arts-based initiative, we can create a kind of special atmosphere, and this special atmosphere really bonds us all together. It really bonds the people to the company, and it gives this bonding between the people.
All right. Well, I have a couple of questions, and there's another question from the audience. Maybe we can sneak in. But is this usually the CEO's pet project, and that's the way that an arts-based initiative gets into the company, or are there other players that, you know, HR director, marketing director, someone different, maybe surprising, that is actually often behind these kinds of initiatives? What's been your experience?
Tough to give an answer. I know from some companies there was actually the CEO or on the C level, which had been the driver. In a few other companies, it came more than from the HR department. But for sure, there must be a driver, and the process must be accompanied. Otherwise, it won't work in that sense.
Okay, and just a question that came from the audience that's watching us. Somebody's asking about poetry as an art form, if that actually kind of goes under the heading of arts-based initiatives, and is that something you're seeing in the corporate environment?
Yes, definitely it does. So poetry is, let's say, as well, one of the big muse, like painting or music. So poetry definitely has its place as in an arts-based initiative. Coming up in companies, actually quite funny. There is a discussion now in the German parliament, as one member of parliament has raised the question, do we need a parliament poet in order to bring a little bit of better atmosphere? Sometimes if we watch the political discussion, I think that might really be a good idea.
No, well,
of hacking to the enemy.
Yeah, that's interesting. Political innovation, bringing in a poet.
Exactly.
And I have a different question that's linked to this. But you know, today, like, one of the biggest challenges of companies, besides, let's say, change management, and which is obviously linked to creating a strong culture, but innovation is really like on everybody's lips. It's like a mandate. We have to innovate. We have to,
right.
You know, and we know it's really difficult. Do these arts-based initiatives help companies to be more innovative, or is it kind of like a prerequisite before you can start innovating, is to have this shared culture, that the BA that you're referring to? What's been your experience?
I think definitely the arts-based initiative, they will set the culture, or give the room, or give the bar as a prerequisite. for innovation. So usually the Artsbased, they are quite open. So they are more or less opening then the door, or opening the playing field. Other techniques for innovation, maybe you are much more closer to a specific problem. Maybe I can give it by an example. I always recommend doing ABIs as well as an addition. For sure, if you do have an accounting problem, maybe you do ask the accounting guy. You don't want to have creative accounting, but finding the right strategy, finding missions, finding things you have a gut feeling, this comes definitely out, and there the arts-based initiatives will help very much, because often people have a feeling, and they have the emotions, but they cannot articulate it, and there comes really the power of the art to symbolize complex abstracts, like in bringing out a concept in a logo, or bringing in one painting, to bring in a whole world, to bring these 1,000 words in one painting. And with the arts-based initiatives, yes, I think it will opening up the floor in which then an innovation is possible.
Well, I mean, I wonder, a big part of one of the things I see that blocks innovation is, one, the fear of failure, or the feel of, the fear of having your ideas shut down, or the fear of being ridiculed, and this, it seems like going through the arts and the arts-based initiatives allows people to be authentic, to be fragile, to put themselves out there, and to see that it's fine, and to get positive feedback from their peers, which would then allow them maybe more easily to share their ideas without fearing, of being ridiculed or looking silly.
Right.
And if they see, like you said, the CEO becomes the beginner, and maybe he or she is the person who comes up with the worst painting or whatever it may be, or the worst poem, that kind of fragility, authenticity sets the tone for everybody else. What?
Exactly. I'm totally in line with that. Let's say usually the bar and the space created through these initiatives, they create a kind of high trust and feel safe environment.
Yeah,
that's really an environment where the emotions can come up, where people are feeling safe to try out new ways and new things in quite unusual ways. And even failure is sometimes requested. And in improvisation theater, there is the fun, there is the trying out of things, the more funny and the more out of reality, the nicer it gets. Yeah. And only in this kind of environment, people can open up. And as you said, in an hostile environment, nobody will ever innovate. There, you really do the task by the book, and everybody tries to get covered, and making no mistake is then the main priority. But let's say, opening up, triggering that process, bringing people together in the organization. I think there lies the power of the ABIs.
Well, wow, I like that. It reminds me of the notion of the circle of safety, and you're right. Today, trust is the fuel that allows companies to work, to innovate, and to create a culture where we're of success. But if I go back to the BA that you started to mention again, how can the BA be developed by companies, either through arts-based initiatives or otherwise, in this online environment, remote work environment, did you have any ideas? Have you experimented with anything recently that shows us how can we still create this subculture of language and commonality and shared experiences, even though we're all behind a screen like we are tonight?
Right. I think there are some art forms and arts-based initiatives thinkable, and which can be done online, which can have some fun. And I think the bar we have now created here in our webinar, it's one example. And I think we should really use this opportunity. And there is as well technology out. For example, painting together online, right? Doing that kind of things, or experimenting then with different backgrounds, and bringing a little bit of joy and fun into the business. Really helps. It's more difficult than in person, no question about that. But I think it can be done, it must be done, and we should then use the opportunity when we meet in person to do this again.
All right, and let's say I'm a company right now, and I've been, like I've been talking to different people recently and said, we have teams, we've hired people in the last couple of years. I've never even met them. They work remotely. What would you suggest a company do, maybe as an art-based initiative, in order to, facilitate the emergence of a bar and replace the water cooler or the coffee machine with something online? Do you have any ideas that can be creative, or that can use some of what you looked at in your research that still work over air and not face to face?
Right. Well, spontaneous. I could think of ask all the members of the team to make a painting. For example, I'll do this in my creativity events. I tell them, look, how does your lucky cat sees the organization? Or take a specific topic from the organization, and everybody makes a painting, and then at the end reunite all the paintings online, have a discussion, let people ask, what do you see in the painting of your colleague? And there, for sure, a lot of things will come up. How people really differently see the companies, and there we might have as well the phenomenon that maybe one guy who is really remote, and everybody thought, okay, that's the very silent guy. He doesn't say anything. He will come up with a brilliant painting, and everybody is astounded. And the big shot, maybe he's not that famous in painting, but it will be fun to bring that together, and it will be a kind of teamwork for everybody of them, right? And the discussion can get some real good results. Usually, people will share their feelings, their emotions, their deep thoughts, and if you listen clearly, then they will point to some question marks or some problems or some challenges.
Yeah.
Sometimes you could see it in the colors as well a little bit, but definitely how people report why they choose this topic, what they have painted, and why they have painted.
Yeah. It sounds
Same might work with poetry, which might be a little bit more too difficult for people to say, okay, now please write a poem.
Yeah. And actually, it made me think also of what you talked about earlier about the improvisation. the improv kind of a thing. It also helps people with empathy. It helps people with active listening. And you said the collaboration. And I'm wondering, like, for you, like, if a company comes to you for an arts-based initiative, do you do any kind of diagnostics about where they are today in terms of corporate challenges, or before you recommend one type of art-based initiative or another? Or do you kind of have like a starter's kit and then you progress? You know, what's your approach when you work with companies on things like this?
Let's say usually I'm there quite open in that on a scale that it can might be a kind of add up when people are in a kind of challenge, to have then one specific problem addressed and bring that out by one initiative. Definitely, I don't do psychological studies, and it's not like that I have a whole box of magic magic tools in that. I could say it's more like an eye opener or a door opener, which I can then provide, and then the company has to take it further from there.
All right. All right, I just want to remind everybody who's listening, you can throw your questions into the comment boxes, whether you're directly on Zoom or if you're on YouTube. We will find you and your questions and try to address them. And while you do post your questions, let me circle back to you, Uwe. Like, in your research on all of this, like, what was the most surprising thing you came across? Like, what was the thing that kind of blew you away, or an aha moment, or something that you didn't quite expect?
There are two things which fascinates me. First, the importance of creating a bar as a space of trust and reflection, so that people really can freely share their emotions and their feeling, and let's say giving them an opportunity to, and helping people to rethink, to follow, and also to make some reflection on ethical and moral and social topics. So it was like it provided a level of deepness which is quite unusual in the business world. One participant said, yeah, it allowed us to dig into something special, and to come deeper and to connect with something which was out there. So the arts can really help there to be flexible. It gives them a transformation. A transformation happens with the people. The second aspect I found fascinating was that everybody showed a really big pride in doing something special. It was a kind of personal uplift for the people to be in that. And it came as a big surprise to them. They said, yes, I am creative. Yes, I'm an artist. Yes, I can do that. And it's nice that we've done that. And I have not painted for 30 years, but I can do it. And so it came up as a very powerful tool for an emotional development. It gave the people a lot of self-confidence, and it was always this, the persons are in the middle, the team is in the middle. We are doing something special. We are proud of that achievement, and we really like what we are doing. That was really one surprise which came out, and I could really feel what when the people are telling me It was not like, okay, now I'll have to do an interview and I don't want, but yeah, it's nice. We had done that. I really wanna do that. And it gave an uplift. And it was almost like an intrinsic motivation then to open up.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of something that's not exactly connected, but you'll see why. But the joy of painting, the joy of creating. I had a friend of mine who was a painter, professional painter, and I started to paint. Basically thanks to his inspiration. He gave me some materials, and I tried my hand, and I just remember I just loved it. And he said to me,
Yeah.
I'm so jealous. I can see the joy and the playfulness that you bring to painting because you're not a specialist. You don't worry about self-criticism, right, about having perfect technique. You're just enjoying the creative part. And so I can see how people really connect to that, creative side of things.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. And let me see. We have a few questions coming in. So there's someone asking about how do you actually help people with, artist-based initiatives in these situations, like overcome their kind of initial discomfort with whether it's painting or if it's poetry or what I mentioned earlier, the fear of ridicule or of looking silly in front of your peers. That's the CEO probably has that, just like the entry level guy. But how do you get people to go beyond that feeling of discomfort or of shyness or introversion, or is there any tricks that you've found that helps put people at ease and kind of level the playing field so there's no hierarchy playing in there or anything like that?
For sure, it's not easy, and maybe starting then with a little bit of a smaller group helps as well. What I'm doing as well with my creativity events is that I'm offering people kind of templates. So it's more about creating than the artful skills, okay, which means people don't need any pre-skills for painting, but with the templates, then they usually can get in. For sure, if there is always a little bit a resistance, like for me as well, going into something new, but as long as it's in a frame, let's say, nobody is asked to expose or to do anything or to make a speech in front of 1,000 people or do something similar like that. In that sense, with a nice and friendly atmosphere, as well as with the people must be sure, okay, what's happening in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas, right? Then, right. Then it's fine. And I think what is as well important, what also other people shared with me, don't do this as a kind of assessment center. Yeah. Don't take the paintings, give it to the HR department, which is handing it over to a psychologist, right? Mm-hmm. That would be an absolute killer for everything. It's a group experience, and within the group, they can find the solution, then they can find the challenges, but it should stay in that circle.
Yeah. So again, you're talking about creating the circle of safety, circle of trust, knowing that it's
exactly
there. And tell me a little bit on your doctoral journey. Like, what was the most difficult part for you, either frustration wise or challenge wise, or like what was the toughest part of getting to the finish line, so to speak?
Well, right from the beginning, for me, it was clear that I wanted to do the research of art and art-based initiatives in business. But there is so much research about art and art-based initiative and so many interesting topics. It really fills libraries sometimes, because I thought, okay, first I want to do art and innovation. So got the library for innovation, art and creativity, art and teamwork, art and well. And so it took me a long time really to nail down the final topic, and I had to kill a lot of my darlings, which was quite painful in this process, to go deeper and deeper, and then really to find the specific topic. So that was quite challenging. And the other aspect was, let's say, a little bit more the formal requirements of writing a thesis. So the publication requirements and from the APA to how to write, how to cite, were quite challenging, and they cost me some time and a couple of sleepless nights. So I would not say it was not frustrating, but it took some strain on my nerves. So to work that out.
All right. Well, we'll come back to your journey in a second. We have another question of, in today's world where everybody's complaining about being too busy in their day-to-day jobs already, how do you encourage companies to have people take time out from the day-to-day to do arts-based initiatives? It's like taking a step back to take two steps forward. But how, like today, how do you, when you're talking with companies, even your own sales process, like how do you convince companies that are maybe not already convinced that there is value there, and that this is important time, that even if they're not working on their regular productive, efficient tasks and processes, but this will actually have a positive benefit on those later on. So it's kind of like try now, gain later. How does that discussion go? Like, how do you convey that value of taking time out?
Right. That's the $1 million question. that's really the $1 million question. That is tough to convince companies, let's say, that they can see the advantage of, let's say, slowing down, getting the energy from something different, and then, as you said, taking one step back in order to get two steps forward. I think a lot of the initiatives, and as well with me, that's through mouth to mouth or through recommendation. Let's say when people have experienced already, then they might bring it in to their company. Let's say when somebody is doing improvisation theater, then he may have the click, okay, that might be as well good for my company. Or if the HR department is more arts affiliated, then he could imagine, okay, this is going to happen, okay, let's give it a try. But definitely that's that is the tough part in doing it, because it cannot, sometimes it cannot be measured in the classical sense as a one-to-one,
of course,
like in a regular skills training where you can measure, okay, before and after.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could easily see how this would be extremely beneficial to any kind of company that's going through rapid change or change management issues.
Okay.
And, if instead of attacking head on with a change management consultant where people are going to be skeptical and actually usually it can even be counterproductive, if you say, okay, let's just try to create a common language, something, a shared experience in an area that has nothing to do with what we do on our day-to-day, and it just creates kind of like you said, the circle of safety, this shared experience, I could see how that could really unlock, like you mentioned, the positives of collaboration and
Right.
teamwork and things that get broken in the day to day. This
Right.
is really powerful as a band-aid.
Exactly. There is the lies the power of the ABIs, and let's say questioning the status quo, having this unclear, ambitious situation, not knowing where to go, making abstracts, and then let's say having discussions which cannot be on a rational level,
Yeah.
and bringing that out there. They can really act as a door opener, giving as well this positive atmosphere which is needed to enable any change.
Yeah. And just like as a, I don't know, as a recommendation, like it sounds like this is like a vitamin that almost every single company on the planet needs to take. How often should this be taken? Is this something you should do once a year, every 6 months? Like what would to you be kind of an interesting recommendation for the CEOs and business owners out there? Like how often is something like this interesting to do?
Maybe it can go on an ongoing basis, like that it's that it will be offered to different kind of departments, or let's say bringing it into special occasions, having it part of the culture. I think this is not as a, I could not get a recipe like, okay, do it every 3 months or 6 months, but really establish it in the culture, bring it in, and let it be part of your soul of the company. That really helps.
And how, I mean, thinking of that makes me right away think about, you know, the subject of purpose today, purpose-driven enterprise, the notion of values. We at the school, we practice something we call 31 practices, where we try to put our values in play every day. Is this something that you find can be brought back to purpose and values? Is there something there, or is this a different subject?
I think it touches together, because within this atmosphere, within this spa, it always comes the question of values, and always come the question, what are we doing here? What is our mission? What is our vision? Where do we wanna go? So I think it's interrelated, and that might be actually a very nice arts-based initiative that you and your team are going to paint the 31 values. Yes. So they are not only written, but they could be in a painting which sits then in the wonderful office there in Paris.
Actually, I'll let you in on a secret. Is we're working with this outfit called Service Brand Global, and Alan Williams is the head there, and he actually had us draw a picture for each one of the values and put it together. Perfect. And we have a calendar with all of our drawings for every day of the month.
Super.
We didn't call it an arts-based initiative at the time, but it definitely
it was one.
Yes.
Right. Super.
All right. Well, we only have a few more minutes, and I wanted to ask you still about your doctoral journey. Like, what are you taking away from it? Like, what is your I don't know, point of pride? What are you going to do with the findings and your research? What do you plan to do going forward? Tell us a little bit what you were proud of and where this is going to be taking you.
Yeah. For me, it was very rewarding. Let's say digging so deep into one topic and becoming an expert, especially then in a topic which is not mainstream. And let's say, so I could really find my own topic and follow my passion. What the DBA taught me definitely was critical thinking. I think I will never be able to read the newspaper or any articles without checking the references, without questioning the sources. And let's say you hear, okay, statistics says 5,830 people have done this. And I say, okay, what kind of people, why, and so on and so on. And I question all the assumptions. So I think I can never come back into another mode of reading. So for me, it was it gave me a lot of pride to do a doctorate and to write a thesis, which when I look back, let's say 20, 30 years, I thought, okay, it's something out of this world, which is not achievable in this life. And so the EDBA program was a real enrichment for me, and it gave me a lot of self-confidence in that sense. And yeah, I made the program as well, let's say, to add as well some credibility to what I'm doing to this field of creativity and creativity research. And yeah, I definitely want to build on this doctorate to go further, either then with starting with teaching, but as well as doing the creativity events. And now, let's say, having this background, I think it will help me to explain and to lay down what is happening there. Before, I could say, yes, it's a nice atmosphere and I got the feeling something is happening, but I could not express it. I know it, but I could not really express it. And with a doctorate and with the research in this topic, it became much clearer to me.
All right, and since we're almost done in terms of time, we only have like 2 more minutes. But in terms of like a recommendation for companies that, let's say, are interested in arts-based initiatives, if they want to learn more about this, or if they want to do something in their own company, should they reach out to you, or are there any resources that you would recommend that they look at first? What's the best way to go here?
Right. Yes, I would be very happy to get in contact with any company who is let's say thinking about an arts-based initiative. There I can share a lot of what I had found out, putting into some directions, or even doing one initiative in their company. So I'm on LinkedIn. I think a lot of people they can reach me by email, or even if I can make some advertisement. It's like I'll do have a website on manekinekoforyou.com. I think if you
maybe put that in the chat.
Yes.
I don't know how to spell that, but yes. Right. And I know you're based in Berlin, but I guess you can work anywhere. Is that the?
I can work anywhere. I work remote, and I am happy to drive and to travel. So I'm open there. I love to travel, and I love to see and to go into companies, because I think this gives as well kind of first feeling what is happening to see.
So if I synthesize all of that, Uwe Bauer, arts-based initiatives, has Lucky Cat, and will travel.
Right.
Listen, Uwe, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your insights and your research and your time with us. And I'm loving that painting behind you. I've enjoyed that the whole time as well. We will follow up, I think, with your website and your LinkedIn. To anybody who participated, you'll get a follow-up email with that. And again, thank you so much, Uwe. And
Right. Thank you.
I'm taking away the notion of the ba for sure, and trying to think about how we can develop that further in the school.
Great. Thank you so much, Alon, for this lively format, and for you taking the lead in the interview. Thanks so much, and thank you for everybody who had been in this webinar today. I really enjoyed sharing what I have done during the doctorate, and hope to talk to you all soon.
All right, and just a big thank you to, there's a logo that says École de Pont Business School. Behind that is
thanks, Sabri
Benradia, who is our producer, director, artistic director, and guru, marketing Sherpa, and growth hacker. Thank you so much, Sabri. And thank you for everyone live streaming on Zoom, at home, at work, wherever you may be. Have a great evening.
Have a great evening. Thank you very much, and all the best to you. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.